Well, good morning, everyone, and I hope you can hear me, and I'll try to project, but I'm going to keep my mask on. And I want to thank Vice President of the Board, Trustee Maxie Johnson, for joining me here today. We're in a situation that has gotten significantly more urgent. The Delta variant of the COVID has surged. We're now in the red level. The Centers for Disease Control say this particular variant is very contagious. On June 18th, when we ended school, there were only 103 new cases in Dallas County. Currently, as of last Friday, there are 820 new cases. More importantly, UT Southwestern, medical professionals at UT Southwestern project that we'll have by August the 23rd, we will have 2,000 new cases per day. And as the superintendent of the second largest district in Texas, I'm responsible for everything, most importantly, the safety of our students and staff and families. So, actually, I'm accountable for everything. So I need to implement whatever safety protocols I feel are in the best interest of our school district. In addition to that, unlike last year, we had the opportunity to pivot for virtual instruction. There is no virtual option at this time. However, I am having my team look at a virtual option to see if we can pull it off. We would get no state funding, but I don't want to lose students to homeschool, no school, charter school, private school, to Texas Tech, to UT Austin. They can provide a virtual option. We can't. Even though this would be our certified teachers working with our curriculum, doing our program. It's on the call for the special session, but as you know, the House has not even convened yet. So, I'm making an announcement, and by the way, I am the Chief Executive Officer of the school district, and I am responsible for the day-to-day operations. The board governs and oversees. They do the management. They oversee the management. I am the management. When we put together our protocols, it was my team that put that together, ultimately me. So I think I have the authority, and so do the attorneys think that I have the authority to make the decision that I'm about to announce to you. However, I'm also going to tell you this is fluid. What I'm about to announce to you will go into effect tomorrow. However, I was just on the phone with some attorneys, and there is a parent group that's filed a lawsuit at the state of Texas over the weekend. It's a new group. So who knows what's going to happen with any kind of temporary instruction or intervention by the state. My decision is also temporary, effective tomorrow. I'm issuing a temporary order that everyone on campus will be wearing a mask, staff, students, families, and visitors. I was at a Del Turner this morning, and some of you were with me. 95%, maybe 98% of the kids had a mask on. 99% of the adults had a mask on. Our families, our students, our parents are very compliant. So I have the full expectation that people will cooperate with us. So this will apply to coaches, this will apply to sponsors, this will apply to athletics. There are some variations of outdoor activities that you'll be able to do certain things, and we'll be working with our teams on that. We'll continue all the other safety protocols as well, but wearing the mask is the most important. Vaccines, we continue to encourage everyone to get a vaccine, but we're not even allowed to ask who has the vaccine. So I'm working on a different plan to incentivize the behavior that we want. So I'll be coming out with an opportunity to incentivize people to get the vaccine and show it to us. I can't make them do it, but if they voluntarily do it, then that might help us get through this, once again, temporary surge. I don't know how long this temporary, don't ask me, because it could be a month, it could be 3 months. As we've seen in Europe and other places, it goes down quicker than the previous one. But this temporary expectation is going to affect immediately. Statewide, the cases are up. In March of 2021, the county is the last time the county was at red. Dallas and Texas lags behind the country in vaccines. Only 52% of the eligible population of 12 and over are vaccinated. So that tells me that if we don't take action now, and now they're expecting 2,000 cases by the end of the month, new cases, then we need to be proactive and move ahead. So I know that you have multiple questions. That concludes my prepared remarks. Mr. Pickett.
Dr. Espinosa, you mentioned, based on what your observations already, at least 90% compliance. The argument has been, at least from the state standpoint, that people would take this responsibility on their own. Why aren't you letting them take this responsibility on their own?
Because if we can save one student, one teacher from going through this awful pain, and it'll get them more prepared to learn. And I think that if you do this together, you have a better chance for success. I heard a doctor say last week, and it's a loose analogy, that if you have a vaccine, it's like you going out in the rain and you have an umbrella. It's going to protect you, not 100%, but it's going to protect you. But then if you put a raincoat on, now you're almost for sure not going to get wet. But if you only have a raincoat and you don't have an umbrella, you're going to get wet. And so the analogy is loose. But why do we subject anybody to this when we know we can handle this? We did it all last year. Let's just be safe for the next few weeks or months, and then we'll see what they tell us. Yes, sir. I'll answer the question in Spanish first, then I'll answer his question. So, when did this evolve? La semana pasada, el lunes, yo no estaba pensando en este asunto. Pero cuando comenzó, el miércoles, muchas cosas comenzaron a cambiar. Y luego el superintendente de Houston me habló y me platicó lo que él estaba pensando. Y yo hablé con mi equipo y nos fijamos en los números del condado. En ese momento comenzamos a decidir qué vamos a hacer. Iba a tener esta conferencia con ustedes el viernes, pero otras cosas cambiaron también. Nosotros no sabemos dónde esta cosa va a ir. His question was, what changed? When did you start thinking about it? What's going on? Last Monday when we opened those 5 schools, I wasn't really thinking about this at all. By Wednesday, things started getting bad. The Houston superintendent called me and said their county was red. They were thinking about some things. I looked at my team. We were back in contact with Clay Jenkins and the county. And I was going to have a news conference last Friday. But things kept changing. And so over the weekend, we just got to this point where I felt now we're in an urgent crisis that despite whatever authority the governor has, he's responsible for the state of Texas. I'm responsible for Dallas ISD. Corbett.
The governor's order says there's a $1,000 penalty for issuing a mask ban. Do you have an understanding as to what financially this could be for the district, what that $1,000 penalty is for?
Well, who knows? The question was about the $1,000 penalty. Yeah, I'm accountable. If I have to pay it out of my pocket or if the district has to pay it, who knows? We don't know if that's one time, if that's per day, if that's per individual. That executive order is very loose according to our attorneys. But I'd rather face that consequence of having to pay some money than to get further behind with these students. Question right here.
Dr. Mina, also you spoke of your concern with the rising numbers. We also saw TEA's guidance last week on how to handle a positive COVID case. Given the concern that's rising right now, do you think TEA needs to rethink their guidance here on how to handle a positive COVID case?
Well, TEA can have their situations. They're responsible for the whole state. Remember, they're responsible for Dumas, Dalhart. That's why we don't call ourselves DISD. Y'all call us DISD. We're Dallas ISD. I'm responsible for Dallas. So I can't control what they do. They said, you don't have to contact trace. That's not what we're going to do. We're going to contact trace. And they say, you don't have to remove people who have been afflicted if they have had the vaccine. We're discussing all those issues. And they made those decisions permissive. They weren't prescriptive, which I do appreciate. That if DeSoto wants to handle it one way on contact tracing and we handle it another way, we're going to make what's best in the best interest of Dallas ISD. Yes. Back.
You said you've consulted your attorneys about this. Can you give us more insight into the guidance they gave you and how they interpreted the order?
Well, I'm a former government teacher. And the way this is supposed to work is the legislative branch makes the laws. Or is this a law? The executive branch is supposed to enforce the laws. Did the executive branch enforce the laws, or are they making the laws? Well, it's now on the call for the special session. Regardless of all that, the judicial branch interprets the laws. And right now, over the last week, you reported in your newspaper that a local judge sided with Clay Jenkins about the mask requirement. So the bottom line to your question, we don't know, because this was not actually legislation. And so, I'm not going to get into attorney-client privilege and what advice they gave me. That just comes from a government teacher and working around a bunch of lawyers my whole career. All this is going to play itself out. And we're not going to be the only ones, as you can tell, that are taking this action.
Will teachers wind up becoming the enforcers for this? Like, have you worked with the teachers to figure out who's going to be the one to actually say you need to put on a mask?
Well, we're starting to work on that right now. That's a great question. Well, and we're going to ask people to comply first. We're going to have a progressive discipline, but we're going to comply real quick. If you don't comply, then you're going to suffer consequences. And what are those consequences? My team is working with me right now about how we do that. We're going to be a little benevolent, but this is a very scary virus. And if we don't move quickly, all of us have other duties as assigned.
Quick follow-up. Is there education that goes on too? Like a young kid may take off their mask, not like they don't do it as a protest, they just don't know what's going on. So I guess you work with the kids too to make sure they understand that keep your mask on.
Well, some of you were with me at Adele Turner this morning, and we went into that camp, kindergartners or first graders. I think they were kindergartners, and they were eating their breakfast in the classroom. So yeah, you can take your mask off, eat your breakfast, and then we expect them to put it back on afterwards. So we will have every measure of reasonableness as we go, just like we did all last year. Just like we did all last year. I got time for 2 more questions. Yeah, para los que hablan español, en este momento nosotros vamos a requerir que tengan la máscara todo tiempo cuando están en nuestras escuelas y nuestros edificios, en los autobuses y todo. En este momento, esta situación es muy grave. Las infecciones son tan grandes a un nivel que estábamos en febrero. Y nosotros tenemos que tener la salud de los estudiantes, de las familias y los maestros. Es la primera cosa que tenemos que hacer. Yes, Corbett?
What are your message to parents?
My message to parents is, look, and I got a lot of emails the last 72 hours. And I had one that said, please don't make us have a mask. I had a bunch that says, I'm thinking about not coming back unless we have some more protection. I had others demanding that I provide a virtual option. So my message to parents is hang with us. We want you to stick with Dallas ISD. We're going to make sure that we take care of the safety. Even if I get in trouble, We're going to try to do whatever it takes to make sure that you come back to school under our conditions, learn as much as you can, because we are behind. And we're exploring other options even if we don't get funding for it. So for the parents, safety is the number one thing. One last question.
Just in terms of adherence on this, the message to your principals, to your kids, you've got 20,000 in school today, so are we sending out notes or emails to remind them about this process that you're changing now?
Absolutely. Thanks for the question. We've already started that. I've learned a long time ago, you don't get in front of your board members, so we notified the board members this morning. We started notifying the principals and their bosses, and then we just sent out a notice about 45 minutes ago to all employees, and we made the day effective tomorrow. Now that could change. If there's a temporary restraining order or something, you know, we're going to pivot. But as of right now, we're executing tomorrow. And then we'll just keep monitoring this, and I am saying this is a temporary solution to a situation that's gotten very great. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you.